For 8 years, a single mother lived next door to my family, and my son treated her like she was dangerous. He built a 10-foot fence between our homes so he would never have to see her. When she died, I was the only neighbor who attended her funeral. Then her lawyer stopped me before I left and placed a sealed letter in my hands. The first line made my hands tremble. I am leaving everything to the man who was kind to me when everyone else believed the lies. What I discovered next would force my own son to face the truth he had spent 8 years hiding. My name is Richard, and for most of my life I believed that family meant standing beside your children no matter what. That belief nearly destroyed the relationship between my son Daniel and me. 8 years earlier, a woman named Clara moved into the small house next to mine. She was a single mother who lived quietly with her teenage daughter. She worked long hours, kept to herself, and rarely asked anyone for help. But Daniel hated her from the beginning. He told me she was trouble. He claimed she was always watching our house and trying to get close to our family. I asked him what she had actually done. He never had a clear answer. He simply said, "Dad, trust me, she is dangerous." I wanted to believe my son. Then one afternoon Daniel arrived with workers and began building a massive fence between our properties. 10 feet high, solid wood, no gaps. I stood there completely confused. When I asked him why he was doing this, he looked at Clara's house and said, "I never want to see that woman again." Clara heard him. She said nothing. She simply walked inside. That moment stayed with me for years. After that, I slowly got to know Clara, and I discovered something completely different from what Daniel had told me. She was kind. She helped elderly neighbors with groceries. She quietly paid for a child's school supplies when his family was struggling. Once, when I became sick, she left homemade food outside my door without even asking for thanks. She never spoke badly about Daniel. Whenever I asked why he disliked her so much, she would only say, "Some people believe the first story they hear, even when the truth is standing right in front of them." 8 years passed. Clara's daughter eventually moved away for college. Clara grew older and her health began to decline. I visited her whenever I could. Daniel never did. Then one winter morning, I received the news that Clara had passed away. I went to her funeral. There were only a handful of people there. Her daughter was crying quietly in the front row. I felt ashamed that someone who had been my neighbor for 8 years could leave this world with so few people around her. After the service, an older man approached me. He introduced himself as Clara's lawyer. Then he handed me a sealed envelope. He said, "Clara specifically asked me to give this to you after her funeral." I opened it with shaking hands. The letter began with my name. Clara explained that years ago Daniel had accused her of stealing money from a business where he worked. She had been blamed for a financial mistake that she did not make. Daniel had believed a false accusation made by someone who wanted to protect themselves. Clara had evidence proving she was innocent, but she never publicly exposed Daniel. Why? Because she had discovered something even more painful. Daniel had made the mistake himself. He had accidentally transferred money to the wrong account and then blamed Clara when he realized what had happened. She could have destroyed his career. She could have taken him to court. Instead, she remained silent because she knew Daniel was already struggling with his own life. Then I reached the final paragraph. Clara wrote that she had kept every document proving the truth, and she had left those documents with her lawyer, not to punish Daniel, but to protect me. She knew that one day my son might blame me for believing her. The lawyer then showed me the documents. Everything was there. Bank records, messages, signed statements, and one old letter from Daniel admitting that he had made a serious mistake. I felt something inside me break. For 8 years, my son had treated an innocent woman like an enemy, and I had allowed the fence between them to become a fence between truth and our family. But Clara had one final request. She asked me not to destroy Daniel. She asked me to make him understand what his actions had cost another human being. So I gave the evidence to Daniel. I did not scream. I did not insult him. I simply placed the envelope on the table and said, "Your fence protected you from Clara, but it never protected you from the truth." Daniel read everything. His face changed. For the first time in 8 years, he had nothing to say. A week later, he went to Clara's daughter's home and apologized. She did not forgive him immediately, and I told him that she had every right to take her time. But Daniel finally understood something. Revenge is not always about hurting the person who hurt you. Sometimes the greatest revenge is allowing the truth to stand quietly in the light. Clara never got to see Daniel admit what he had done, but her truth survived, and the 10-foot fence that once separated two homes eventually came down. I kept one small piece of it, not as a reminder of hatred, but as a reminder that fear, pride, and false accusations can destroy years of someone's life. And sometimes the person we were taught to fear is the very person who shows us what kindness really looks like. Clara left this world without revenge, but she left behind something far more powerful: the truth. And when Daniel finally understood it, there was no courtroom, no shouting, and no punishment. There was only the weight of knowing that he had spent 8 years hating an innocent woman. If there is one lesson I learned from Clara, it is this: never judge someone by the story you were given before you hear the truth. Description: this emotional family drama tells the story of a father, his son, and a single mother who becomes the target of a terrible misunderstanding. For 8 years, a massive fence separates two families while an innocent woman quietly carries a secret that could change everything. After her passing, a mysterious letter reveals the truth and forces a family to confront betrayal, regret, forgiveness, and the consequences of believing accusations without evidence. This is an original fictionalized story inspired by realistic family situations and emotional human experiences, created for storytelling and entertainment. Stay until the ending because the final lesson is not about revenge, it is about truth, regret, and the courage to admit when we were wrong.